Do you want to know why he's not texting you right now?
I hate these lights. Can lights are the bane of my existence. By just taking a strip and putting it like this. Or you can go what I call with my pre-tape loop layer. Now, that's much softer on my face. And then if you want to control it, you can use black wrap to tape that up so it's not flying all over the walls, or black tablecloth for $2.99.
You are a cinephile who wants to become a great film director in 2024. This is exactly how you have to be, obsessed with your craft, with the medium. But how can you learn the basics without someone to guide you or without going to a film school? Look here what Martin Scorsese has to say.
I'm often asked by younger filmmakers, why do I need to look at old movies? I've made a number of pictures in the past 20 years. And the response I find that I have to give them is that I still consider myself a student. The more pictures I've made in the past 20 years, the more I realize I really don't know. And I'm always looking for something or someone that I could learn from. I tell the younger filmmakers and the young students that do it like painters used to do, painters do. Study the old masters, enrich your palette, expand the canvas. There's always so much more to learn.
As someone just starting out, it's difficult to know about classic films that have shaped and changed filmmaking through history. And without a film school, that becomes even more challenging. But no film school doesn't necessarily mean that you won't make great movies.
You dropped out of school because all you wanted to do was to learn how to make movies.
Yeah. That seems to me the only way to go, you know? I mean, film school was never an option. It seems to me to be a waste of time and a waste of money. You know, my film education really came from watching other movies, you know? And I think there's a scary mentality, I think, in film schools. My small sort of dealing with them is something that's really terrifying. I walked into a film class and it was about screenwriting, and this guy, the opening line was, you know, if you're here to write Terminator 2, just leave now. And I thought, well, that's terrible. Could be a kid in the corner there that wants to write Terminator 2. That's his vision. That's his movie. That's what he likes. Let him do it, you know.
So you can learn how to make great movies by just watching other movies. Here's what Martin Scorsese says cinema is.
What are the essentials to you? What makes cinema?
I think what makes cinema to me, I think ultimately it's something that for some reason stays with you, so that a few years later you could watch it again, or 10 years later you watch it again and it's different. In other words, there's more to learn about yourself or about life.
Now watch this scene from Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood.
Daniel, you've come here and you've brought good and wealth, but you have also brought your bad habits as a backslider. You've lusted after women, and you have abandoned your child. Your child that you raised, you have abandoned all because he was sick and you have sinned. So say it now. I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
Say it louder. I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
Louder, Daniel. I am a sinner.
I am a sinner.
I am sorry, Lord.
I am sorry, Lord.
I want the blood.
I want the blood.
You have abandoned your child.
I've abandoned my child.
I will never backslide.
I will never backslide.
I was lost, but now I am found.
I was lost, but now I'm found.
I have abandoned my child. Say it.
I've abandoned my child.
Say it louder. Say it louder.
I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my child. I've abandoned my boy.
Beg for the blood.
Give me the blood, Eli. Let me get out of here. Give me the blood, Lord, and let me get away.
Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
Yes, I do.
Get out of here, devil! Out, devil! Out, sin! Do you accept the Church of the Third Revelation as your spiritual guide? Get out of here! Get out of here! Get out of here! Get back with you! Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Savior?
Yes, I do.
Every time I watch the film, I find out some kind of truth about myself or the world. So you need someone to introduce you to the world of passionate and innovative filmmaking, and film school doesn't seem to be the solution.
I went to film school.
Which one?
NYU. And I...
Chose sound?
Well, that's the thing. I went in to be a director, and someone's giving a presentation and says, like, okay, how many of you people are here to be directors? 90% of the hands go up. He says, okay, well, 1% of you are going to go on to be directors. And 0.1% of those are going to be successful.
Yeah.
Shit.
At least they're real.
Yeah.
Did anyone like automatically just say, all right, fuck it, I'm switching my answer?
This guy.
So, film school or no film school, what is that one thing that will guarantee that you make a film that says something so personal that people find elements of themselves and their world in your film? It is insane obsession and learning from your mistakes. Some people find this quote by Quentin Tarantino to be very pretentious, but I feel that it is actually true.
You don't have to know how to make a movie. If you truly love cinema with all your heart and with enough passion, you can't help but make a good movie. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to know a lens, a 40 and a 50 and a fuck all that shit. Crossing the line, none of that shit's important. If you just truly love cinema with enough passion and you really love it, then you can't help but make a good movie.
So, in this video, I'm going to share how you can learn from and understand the films of the old masters and be on the way to make your first feature film. And this is really important. Just hear Steven Spielberg speak.
I come into contact with a lot of young people, and I found that a lot of these people know all my movies really, even better than I do. And they know all of Marty's films, and they know all of Brian De Palma's films and George Lucas's films, and they're getting to know all of Quentin Tarantino's three films. And, but what's happening is they don't know much beyond that. And when I say, what are your favorite films from the old days, from the black and white days of the 30s and 40s, I don't get a lot of answers that give me comfort. And I'm finding that if people are going to just study the movie brats of the 1970s, what they're learning is a pretty weak carbon copy, because all the movie brats learn from the masters of the 40s and 50s and 30s, and I'm sure those in the 50s and 40s learned from the silent movie masters. And so we're all handing influences down and inspiring from generation to generation. And I kind of am a little bit sad that a lot of the young people today kind of have a cutoff point for their own personal influences, and that's like, they don't know a lot of pictures in the pre-60s.
I am assuming that you're just starting your journey as a filmmaker. So, I would suggest watching popular but good films first. You can start from Frozen to Shrek and move your way up from that.
The mentality of film schools is we'll start out with, Potemkin. First day in class, here's Potemkin. Every kid in the class is going to just fall down. What do you do? It's like, they should do it backwards, start with Terminator 2. And work backwards and sort of and ease into this and sort of trace the heritage, trace it back. Watch a Scorsese movie, which everyone sort of loves in the class and is very excited by, and trace back and go, okay, here's who he was riffing off of. Here's these patents that he has kind of built upon, and study it that way.
When I started back in 2017, I watched over 110 mediocre mainstream films. I believe that just as we learn to write, we need time to become visually literate and understand cinema that has more to say than what's on the surface. For example, my first impression of Fight Club was that, why is this so weird? And I heavily disliked the film. But years later, I understood that it is supposed to be weird, and that is a creative decision. And when my appreciation of film and literature grew, I was able to appreciate the film. Once you're done watching the mediocre films, it's time to watch some good popular directors. If you Google great directors of the 21st century, you would get Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan. Watch their work. Then move on more niche, but popular filmmakers like Jordan Peele and Ari Aster. Then you can Google the greatest films of all time. Films like 12 Angry Men, The Godfather, Casablanca, and Goodfellas will pop up. Discover Woody Allen in Annie Hall and marvel at Midnight in Paris. Watch 12 Years a Slave and A Beautiful Mind. When you've watched recent Tarantino flicks, move to his earlier work. Then discover the American independent cinema movement, From here, you are ready to begin reading about cinema history. I suggest watching Mark Cousins' documentary series, The Story of Film, An Odyssey, and reading the book, The History of Cinema, a very short introduction. Remember, you have to be obsessed to learn and devour any book that you can lay your hands on. I got to know some of the greatest directors that I have admired from these resources. Some of them include Sidney Lumet, Woody Allen, Michael Curtiz, Orson Welles, Hayao Miyazaki, David Lynch, Billy Wilder, Guru Dutt, Federico Fellini, Jean-Pierre Jeunet, John Huston, John Ford, Stanley Donen, Stanley Kubrick, Vittorio De Sica, Dziga Vertov, François Truffaut, Bong Joon-ho, Fernando Meirelles, Pedro Almodóvar, Gus Van Sant, Alfonso Cuarón, Alejandro González Iñárritu, Guillermo del Toro, Charlie Kaufman, Victor Erice, Wong Kar-wai, Akira Kurosawa, Yasujiro Ozu, Kenji Mizoguchi, Masaki Kobayashi, Ingmar Bergman, Andrei Tarkovsky, Louis Malle, Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Ritwik Ghatak, Danny Boyle, Terrence Malick, Elim Klimov, Michael Haneke, Abbas Kiarostami, Rainer Werner Fassbinder, Hirokazu Koreeda, Roman Polanski, Nuri Bilge Ceylan, Ritu Parno Ghosh, David Lean, Chantal Ackerman, Claude Lanzmann, Park Chan-wook, Majid Majidi, Jafar Panahi, Asghar Farhadi, Robert Bresson, Youssef Chahine, Wim Wenders, Werner Herzog, and many more. If you want to follow my journey of watching cinema from around the world, follow me on Letterboxd at Riddick Pandey. You can go even deeper into the world of cinema by using the resources I have given you. The Story of Film talks about more than 1,000 films and links it all to passion and innovation. But only watching cinema doesn't make you a great filmmaker. Hear what Werner Herzog has to say.
Read. If you don't read, you'll never be a filmmaker. If you don't read, you will never make a great film. If you do not read, you will become a mediocre filmmaker at best, but you will never make a real good film. If you don't read, you'll never be a real good filmmaker.
Why do you think that's so important?
Because you acquire a sense for great epic storytelling. You acquire a sense for conceptual things. And when you look at young people who are only on Twitter or Facebook, they cannot articulate 3 coherent sentences anymore, and they are very weak when it comes to conceptual things. It's a spontaneous thing, and it's not the depth of real reading. And you don't need to read books about filmmaking. Read poetry or read whatever, just read. And some of the great filmmakers like Francis Ford Coppola or Terrence Malick or Errol Morris in documentaries, they read all the time.
So, if you're not really into reading, that's a big red flag. Again, I would suggest starting small. Start reading short stories and try to write one 1,000-word short story every day. Here is a list of some short stories to get you started. After 100 days of reading and writing short stories, start reading novels and literature from around the world. Here is a list of 50 books that would give you a basic understanding of all kinds of literature throughout history. Now, start reading screenplays. Start with 3 screenplays a week. Watch the movie along with reading the screenplay. Watch the film once without sound and once without visuals. That would make you more aware of the shot composition, editing techniques, and sound design decisions that a filmmaker has taken. Once you have done this, start making short films.
Make a movie every week, write every night, and every weekend shoot for 2 days and work with actors, work with a little 1,000-watt lighting kit, set up your shots, get a tripod, shoot a little scene, work with the actors, cut those scenes together, and then the next weekend have worked on it with sound and looping and put some music to it. It can all be done for nothing nowadays with a computer. And get a response. And get a response from the audience and see where it's slow and where it doesn't work and where your ideas weren't being communicated properly. Learn from that experience sitting in with the crowd, and then go out and make another picture the next weekend. And just keep doing it. make films, no matter what anybody says, and you'll be a filmmaker.
Please understand that you don't have to do this sequentially. Everyone has their own journey and their own experiences. So, take what you can from this process. The goal is to become the smartest person on the set. Hear what Christopher Nolan has to say.
I think it was Stanley Kubrick who said the best way to learn how to make a film is to make a film. And I certainly found that to be the case. I didn't go to film school, and I just have always made my own films. And when you're doing films just with friends, with no money, on a shoestring, you have to be able to do all the jobs. And sometimes you'd be recording sound, and sometimes you'd be shooting the film. I know enough about every job on set to not say I can do your job, but just to give them an idea that I'm paying attention to what they're doing. It gives you confidence as a filmmaker. I recommend it to any young filmmaker starting out. Is just try everything. Try recording sound, try shooting, try lighting, try a bit of everything. And there's an interesting relationship as a director between yourself and the people who work for you on set, which is they're looking to you for leadership and guidance. And I think they also want to feel like you care about their job. And I think one of the ways of showing somebody that you care about their job is to know about it and be able to engage in a conversation with the sound department about microphones and which microphones they're using and things like that.
So here is a list of resources to learn more about each department in filmmaking. This includes material on how to have a successful film festival campaign after you have made your film. I am also attaching a guide to understanding the festival business all over the world in the description. Do let me know what you thought about this video. Subscribe for more content and select one of the 5 topics for my next video.